Hello and welcome to my dungeon guide for Kugane Castle. This instance has 3 bosses and a large amount of trash. The first boss you encounter is Zuiko Maru. This large armor robot is quite a fun fight. His first ability is Clear Out. This is a cleaval cone in front of him that can be easily avoided by the tank, and with the boss facing away from the party, this will never be a problem. His second ability, which happens throughout, is Kenkai Release. This is an unavoidable AoE for your healer to heal your group through. It won't be long through the fight before the first Harakiri Kosho ad spawns. This ad has a large bomb on its back, and when the ad is killed, it will leave a large scale AoE on the ground where it died. This will eventually go off and hurt anyone still in the blast radius. This bomb needs to be taken to the side of a room away from any other players, killed and then stood away from to avoid the bomb blast. Later into the fight, the boss will spawn 2 of these at the same time. You'll need to put both bombs on top of each other to ensure there is still a safe zone in the room to flee from the explosions. The next ability you will see is Helm Crack. This puts a stack marker on a player. This player will need to come into melee range and split this damage and soak it. Failure to do so kills that player. The boss likes to use his Kenkai Release AoE pulse directly after a stack marker, so make sure to top people up through both sources of AoE damage if you are the healer. And that's pretty much the fight. Fairly simple, so let's move on to boss number 2. The second boss then is Dojun Maru. This ninja fights you in this large green dojo room in the Budokan training rooms. His first ability is Clockwork Medium. This spawns ads on the sides of the room which face into the room at a direction. This face direction should be noted from and moved from, as directly in front of each ad an AoE line attack will be primed. Move from these as soon as possible. Shortly after avoiding the lines, the boss will place blue circles on players and begin to cast Clockwork Raton. Players have a few seconds to spread these circles away from others to avoid stacking an AoE blast when they fade. This combo gets more intense further into the fight, with more ads being placed on the sides of the room and multiple circle AoEs on players to avoid. Around 70% the boss does his Clockwork Medium attack, but instead spawns ads into the actual room with him. These are attackable and should be killed as soon as possible. The boss will begin to cast Juji Shuriken. This attack puts lines in front of himself and each of the ads which you need to avoid. These, once faded, launch multiple shuriken which do a significant amount of damage if you get caught in them. The boss will now use the shuriken ability throughout even without the ads up, so be aware of this, especially considering in the later stages the shuriken can be used at the same time as the line AoEs on the floorboards as well as the circle AoEs in quick succession. Those are his abilities. It's just a case of avoiding AoEs, not getting overwhelmed by the ads and killing them if needed, and not stacking damage sources. So let's move on through the trash to the next and last boss. Yojimbo has been hired for this fight, and I have to say this is my favourite boss and summon from previous Final Fantasy games. I loved him in 10, and it's good to see his model is largely the same, even with his pet dog Daigoro. So let's explain the fight. The boss hits fairly weak at the start, as he's a guild-funded mercenary without pay. He obviously does very little. Daigoro, his dog, will do damage and a knockback to those he jumps into. You can avoid this by simply stepping aside if he looks like he may jump in your direction, but it doesn't hurt enough to really worry about, and you should focus on your damage. Periodically, the guy that hired Yojimbo will throw piles of gold out into the room. The idea then is that however much gold you don't pick up, Yojimbo will, and if his funds meter reaches near or full, he will wipe your entire party. To avoid this then, you run around after these piles of gold and pick them up yourself by clicking on them. After the gold phase ends, Yojimbo will perform his legendary Zanmato attack. This does damage based on how much gold he managed to collect. Additionally, Yojimbo has a Metagiri ability. This is a large room-wide AoE slash that you can't avoid, but you'll just need to heal through if you're the healer. His next ability, Inoshi Kacho, is to summon 2 sets of Ravana-like butterfly ads. Firstly, 4 of them will spawn 4 circles in the center of the room to step out of, and then 8 around the sides of the room to step back into the center to avoid. After this, Yojimbo will cast Laigiri, which is another AoE circle to avoid, only this time in melee range around him. At 50% health, Yojimbo will use the ability Dragon's Lair. This will summon 4 dragon head ads around the room. These do line attacks and should be killed, however this also acts as a distraction due to the gold piles being out again in this phase to be collected. Get the gold piles first and clear up the ads as you go. Daigoro will also be back out again, knocking players around as they're trying to pick up the gold at the same time. And that's the fight in a nutshell, more comedic than a super serious fight, and a wonderful addition to the game. I for one hope that Gilgamesh and Yojimbo meet up in a future Hildebrand quest or something, considering how awesome this boss is. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, please consider a subscription, it really helps a huge amount. Until the next one, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.